Yeah, good.
Okay.
Shh, shh.
I can't see it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to ZTV Live. I'm Susan Mulligan Fleischman, and I'm so glad that you guys are all joining us tonight. Today is Thursday, August 13th, and tonight is the Virginia Amos Show. Virginia's guest is Elizabeth Trigg. She's an English teacher at George Washington Middle School. So schools are under a lot of scrutiny right now and a lot of decision making, so it'll be very interesting to see what Virginia and Elizabeth's conversation is all about. And in the audience, if anybody can give us a little wave or say hello, make sure our audio and video is working correctly, I would really appreciate that. Before we get to Virginia and Elizabeth, I would just like to read a couple of words from our sponsors. This episode of ZTV Live is brought to you in part by Riverbend Bistro in the Holland Hall Shopping Center on Fort Hunt Road in Alexandria. Check out their seasonal menu of fresh seafood, meats, and poultry and vegetarian dishes, all accompanied by your choice of an extensive wine list. Reservations are recommended. Visit riverbendbistro.com for the menu and for their daily specials. And by MB Bakery on the Go. Mary Beth's artisan baked creations are legendary, with creative flair and artistic excellence. From humble beginnings in area farmers markets to their present-day wholesale facility, Mary Beth's Bakery really delivers in every sense of the word. For delicious cakes, pies, cookies, and more delivered to your door, check out mbbakeryonthego.com. Mention Zebra Ship for free delivery on orders of $30 or more. And by Aldo's Italian Kitchen on Eisenhower Avenue in Alexandria. Aldo's can feed a family of 4 for $60 with your choice of chicken parmesan, homemade meat lasagna, or linguine chicken alfredo. Visit aldoskitchen.com. Curbside pickup is available weekdays from 4 to 8, and please allow 3 hours for prep time. We'd love to advertise and spread the word of your great business or service. So if you'd like to become a sponsor of ZTV Live, please let us know. Send us an email to ads@thezebrapress.com. Okay, and we're back. And tonight is the Virginia Amos Show. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Virginia on camera. Hi, Virginia. Welcome back to your
Hey, Susan,
your
how
show.
are you?
I'm great. How are you
Thank
tonight?
Thank you. Good. Always glad to be here.
Good. Well, you look fabulous with those cute red glasses that I love so much. And we're excited to welcome your guest tonight.
Absolutely. Full disclosure, Elizabeth is a Delray neighbor. We have exchanged vegetables and broken bread together. So when I thought that talking about education and what's happening in Alexandria, and specifically talking to a teacher, talk about frontline workers, I couldn't think of anybody better than Elizabeth Trigg for another reason, which I'll tell you in a minute. But hi, Elizabeth.
Hey,
Hi,
Virginia.
Elizabeth. You're on camera. Thanks for coming on ZTV Live.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. I'm going to let you take it from here, Virginia.
Okay, thanks. I have to tell you, Elizabeth started her teaching career last fall. Now, this was a career change for her, and I know that she was so excited about moving into teaching and all that entails. And I must say, Elizabeth, you picked a hell of a year to become a teacher.
It's what I do.
So let's back up a little bit. What was it like when you all of a sudden realized you weren't going to be in the classroom anymore?
Well, I think we probably all saw it coming for a few weeks prior to when the decision was made. I think it was March 13th. So I think we were all anticipating that, but it was still just a little surreal thinking that, oh, we'll be back after spring break. But at the back of your mind thinking, I don't think this is going to be so quick. And, trying to plan for the unexpected. So, it was just a very odd and unexpected time.
And something that they don't prepare you for when you are studying to become a teacher.
No, There's no class for that.
There's no.
So you just sort of really just have to use your best judgment and instincts with whatever you're doing, with what you're doing, in particular in these situations.
And for you, you live just a stone's throw from GW Middle School. So
Yes.
you are really teaching in your community, and you are teaching the children who live in your community,
Oh,
which in
absolutely.
some ways makes that such a personal connection.
Well, that was part of the reason why, I really did want to teach at GW. This is my community. I've lived here in Alexandria for about 15 years now. My children go to GW. And I really wanted to make a difference within my community. So teaching at GW was my priority, and it just worked out that way. So it's been great.
Good. And you're going to be teaching again this fall, not in the classroom or the
Or
the,
not
the
for now.
real classroom,
Sure.
your virtual classroom.
Yes.
So what is that going to look like? I also want to talk about what it's going to look like for your boys who have also had to make the switch from bricks and mortar to another bricks and mortar, your house. Uh, and it's how do you prepare? What differences do you see that you're going to make
Hmm.
both personally and professionally to provide that online experience and still be the very best teacher you can be?
I think probably one of the most important things that I'm thinking about, and my coworkers are all thinking about, is how um, we can make those connections and personal connections with our students, and also to keep them engaged in learning and in their education. When we left in the spring, we had almost like 2/3 of a school year to get to know our students. So we knew who they were. We knew how they learned. We knew how to reach out to them, what circumstances we might need to watch for, how to really keep in touch with them. But this year it'll be, individuals and students that we've never met. So
Uh,
now it's thinking about how we can really get to know them in a virtual environment. So, for example, the four English teachers for my grade level, we just had an impromptu little Zoom call today, and just to start getting our thinking around what the
mhm.
beginning of the year will look like, and thinking about and brainstorming some ideas of how we can leverage learning in a virtual environment to reach, engage, and get to know our students.
For somebody like me whose children are grown and away,
Mhm.
it's a very different thought process.
Right.
And I was talking to Mary Dixon Hutchison the other day, and she was saying, I am so glad that I do not have children in school. I'm so glad that I do not have to make this decision
Hmm.
about what they're going to do.
Sure.
And when I told her you were going to be on my show, she said, great, because really teachers, I mean, certainly the healthcare workers are still on the front line, but as we move back into school, teachers are absolutely becoming that front line. And if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me here, but I think that the Alexandria City school system was pretty fast with their decision not to go back into bricks and mortar.
For this coming school year?
Uh-huh.
I think I know that they were behind Fairfax and Arlington. I don't know if they were the last in the DC metro area, but they were amongst that. Just I'm going to put on my citizen and parent of student hat. I do feel that they've been very methodical in thinking about all the myriad
Okay.
um, things that need to be considered, particularly for our particular city and our particular environment, to meet the needs of all of our students.
Well,
So
that's good to hear because I was I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the NPR program I was listening to this afternoon, but when you really break down what a school system has to consider,
right.
it is it's exhausting.
It is. I think and again, I'm speaking of this as, as a private citizen. I think our schools, in many respects, have become the service provider for social services
Hmm.
to students in many aspects. And so that all needs to be considered and weighed in the balance when making a decision like this. Um, you know, Food, access to internet, resources, social services, mental health services. I mean, those were all things that they had to weigh and consider how special ed services, how are we going to meet all of these needs in this very unique and unexpected environment? And so I feel that they did take a slow and measured approach
Hmm.
to make sure that they were weighing all of the options and that they had a lot of buy-in from people who could give other viewpoints and other opinions to make sure that they're not just speaking from one person's perspective.
That being said, do you feel like you have gotten the support and the tools that you need that you need to create this new environment for your students?
I do feel that. I think Alexandria was also in a unique position that for, I think, like third or so grade on up at last year, we were a one-to-one school. So students were used to using technology as an educational resource. They were used to using Canvas, which is our learning management system. They were used to using the ed tech applications that we use to continue their learning. So in many ways, in the spring, a lot of it was seamless. So, we
Mhm.
were got the call on March 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. So March 16th, Monday, I was on Zoom and all my colleagues, we were back on Zoom, continuing on with lessons and
Mhm.
continuing on. I continued our Lit Circle project for the next couple of weeks with my students. It looked different. Our culminating project was a little bit different. But we still had group work. We still, they were. So I think having that background and having the students used to using technology for learning, and then having the spring to sort of see how it worked and work out those kinks will put us in a unique position this fall to really I feel, be successful.
So your setup, it's not brand new.
No, it's not brand new. I mean, everyone, I can only speak from myself, but I feel confident that I'll be able to use the tools that have been provided and that we have the adequate tools that we can continue learning and continue the education.
Good to hear. So let's switch this a little bit and kind of move to the personal. I know that one of my grandsons, he's 6, I will admit. Online learning for him was just an unmitigated disaster. I think his mother would tell you.
Mhm.
He didn't want to do it.
Mhm.
Um, his attention span was totally limited. And it was a really, really frustrating experience all the way around.
Right.
Now, your boys are older.
Mhm.
How did they transition into learning from home?
They did, I would say, really well. Both Brent, my husband, and I were home. So we were at the dining table and they were in the living room. And they're like, okay, guys, go to school. And knowing my children, so I can only speak from my experience, they kept on top of it. They, logged into their Zoom classes. They turned in their assignments. They kept doing what was expected of them, but that's just like them.
And how old are they?
Henry is 11 and Hugh's 13. So
Okay.
they'll be in 6th and 8th grade next year.
So they were at least programmed kind of in the right direction.
Yeah. So I think, I think each child is going to handle it differently. They were just unfazed. This was something that didn't phase them, learning online, and turning their education or their school into something they did independently at home on the sofa. Is that was not something that phased them.
Now, have you entertained the idea of expanding their curriculum in any way to encompass experiences, say, as opposed to doing something strictly out of the book or according to lesson plans?
So like searching out like different learning opportunities.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we did a little bit. I mean, it was something we thought about, but it was really more of like let's wait and see how this all plays out. And then if we feel they need those extracurricular supports, then that's something, we will investigate. But as of now, I really haven't needed to or felt the need to do that.
Okay. I think that, parents are just really kind of looking at all things that are open.
Right.
I think there's kind of a real fear around, losing steam and,
absolutely
forgetting things. But I think that so much, it's really going to be interesting when it comes to college applications in this next year. What is that going to look like?
Oh, absolutely. I think, people who are in periods of transition years it's going to be very different. How are they going to do the SATs and the PSATs and the other standardized tests that they take for college? I'm wondering if this will just be a time of a wholesale restructuring and reflection on how we learn in this country and how we, prepare for college, how we apply for it. Maybe it's a time of opportunity.
I totally think that what we're going through is just an opportunity for so much. And if you think about it, for instance, you think about the high school juniors and seniors who would be spending this time racking up extracurricular activities and community service hours.
Right.
To put on their resume. Well, they can't do that now.
Absolutely.
And so is a school going to look at them different? Obviously schools are going to they'll know the year that they're, trying to get into school, but it's going to be interesting because they're going to, have to weigh, well, how much emphasis do we really put on that? Or,
maybe it'll change how we assess students, how we assess their learning and their capabilities and, their future. So, but I will say I'm glad it's not like I'm not in a huge transition with my kids.
I would imagine so. I would imagine so. And I also think, it could be a real change for teachers too, and their evaluations. And, let's face it, some people may actually shine in a virtual classroom who maybe not so much in bricks and mortar. It's
different and the same teaching online as in person. There are obvious differences, but the same format and pedagogy. That's one word I can never pronounce properly.
I think you had it right the first time. Pedagogy.
What? You're still trying to get the same result, and you're still trying to use the same formats, and you still have the same tools. It's just how you use them.
Yeah. So have you been, because I'm going to ask you for some of those tips, but have neighbors and friends been reaching out to you for tips on what to do to make it a smoother process at home?
A little bit, but I think, it's such a personal experience for each child,
Mm-hmm.
that you really have to look at where they are and what their individual needs are. I think, like in any situation, it really comes down to establishing boundaries. Um, Individual for each person is like, what are your expectations each day, that your child will do, to make sure that they're set up for success. Some students need a super rigid structure. Others, you can just say, hey, make sure you do X, Y, and Z, and they'll do. And so establishing those boundaries, I think from the start and from the get-go will be the most important, to know that, so that they know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. And you can break it up.
Absolutely.
Or are you all fun? I mean, that actually, tell me about that in terms of virtual learning. Are you all on a specific time frame,
Oh
or
yeah,
is it
there will be a set schedule.
okay?
CPS sent out, I think it was yesterday, the day before. I'm losing track of time. Um, they sent out the sample schedules of what they will look like, and how the day will be structured, for all the different grade bands. So pre-K and early elementary and middle school and high school. There might be another one in there, but so what the day will be structured, so it won't be a free for all. So you'll be going to class at a certain time, but you'll just be doing it at home.
Okay. And then is there an opportunity if for some reason you missed a class because you were sick or had to do something, can you then come back to that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, all is not lost. Um, so, but, there will be attendance, and, they put out, some very thorough information on, what the day will be look like. And I'm certain that more information will be forthcoming from your individual schools about, school and grade specific information and expectations, from the school, and then from, your students' teachers.
For instance, that's something I had not even thought about is attendance. But obviously, you have to keep track of whether or not the kids are
Right.
there, and if you know,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have one person or if you have a full class.
Yes. It'll be a lot. But, I think with having this structure in place, um, it helps to just manage expectations. So the students know what is expected of them. It's just setting norms and expectations for behavior, which you would do in any classroom environment, be it in person or in a virtual environment. So I think, they do respond to having those structures in place of knowing when what needs to be done.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And what about, I know it's an idea that has caught on in some places, and in fact, my California kids are talking about a neighborhood pod.
Mm-hmm.
And in this instance, it would actually be my son-in-law who would be the teacher because he seems to have the
Right.
magic touch with the 6-year-old
Right.
in terms of, just
Mm-hmm.
how he responds.
Sure.
But I think they're thinking about it as much as anything because our 6-year-old is very gregarious and loves being around other kids. And
Sure.
I think that was one of the hardest things with trying to do the virtual learning
Sure.
was just being completely separate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not so much the older they get, it's perhaps not quite such an
Right.
issue.
You know, I will say, speaking from me personally, my children are older. They are in middle school. So they are expected to have a certain level of independence in learning. So the pods is not something I've personally looked into, for my students, or my children.
Your children, yeah.
It's like, um, I do know that it is something people are looking into, and I think there are a lot of challenges, particularly for students for families that have younger children and they're both working either in or out of the home at
Oh,
this
yeah.
So that's just another level of complication to all of this that families are going to really have to be grappling with over the next few weeks as the school year gets started.
Yeah, I think it's, I think I admire anybody who is finding their way through this. We're grateful for people like you and the other teachers who are just, saying, okay, we're going to make this work and this is how we're going to do it. Because I think it's a huge challenge ahead.
Well, I feel that, we have a great, especially, I can only, again, speak for, our team, I think we have a great group of professionals that are ready for the challenge. And, I can speak for myself. I'm kind of looking forward to meeting this challenge and seeing, I've never met a challenge I've backed down from. So this isn't going to be when I start.
Nice to hear. Nice to hear.
So, kind of we'll see what we can accomplish.
Well, and I think certainly you've got the right attitude, but I think that here again, we have this opportunity both to learn something new and the opportunity to look at doing things differently in the future. Absolutely. And my hope would be for all of us, same thing in real estate, that you actually learn from this challenge and you are inspired or really understand that the future is in a different way of doing things.
Absolutely.
Because we're never going to there is no normal to go back to.
Right. And I think it's embracing that flexibility, and thinking, how can we progress forward in the best way for all people and all learners and all students and children?
So it's across the board. It's elementary, middle, and high school across the board in Alexandria City.
Yep, it is. And they each have their own challenges that they'll have to face that are, specific to their age and grade level. Well,
it's going to be an interesting year, and I think it would be fun to bring you back sometime after Christmas. Let's see how things are going. You certainly will not have to worry about snow days this year.
No, that is one thing. Darn it. We didn't even get any snow days this year. I was like, come on. So I really love summer vacation. I haven't had a summer vacation since I was 18. This is amazing.
That's great. All right, then. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being with us. I know I kind of dragged you into this a little bit, but I'm so glad you said yes. And so glad we could talk about something that really, whether or not you have children in the school system or not, this affects everybody. Absolutely. Because it's about our future and it's about our children.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's the collective children that we're all responsible for. So, Susan Fleshman, thank you. And I am Elizabeth. You're going to come back sometime after Christmas, and we're going to see how things are going, and we'll talk about lessons learned and see where we are going forward.
Okay, and we'll see how much longer my hair will get by that point.
Oh, I know. Mine is totally off the shoulders now because it's otherwise, today with the rain, it's just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know. I've had this conversation with Susan too. It's
like, well, now it's a bet with myself to see how long I can go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are having that same kind of a bet too. Yeah. Elizabeth, what a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And as Virginia said, we hope you do come on again soon. So. And good luck with everything this year. Let us know if there's any news that you'd like us to share on your behalf. We'd be happy to do so.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can always do something for GW, give you a shout out whenever you need it.
That's exactly right. All right, Virginia, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Take care, ladies.
Bye.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for tonight's episode of ZTV Live. That was a really great discussion, and it's an ongoing discussion. And I would just like to put it out there that if anybody has good news to share about some creative solutions that you're giving to for the upcoming school year, to please let us know. We'd love to share your good news and your stories and your great ideas. And I think other people would be interested in hearing them as well. We have a busy week next week. On Monday, Steve Halk will be here, and his guest next week is Nita Helms. And he's spoken about Nita many times before. She's the founder and president of Classical Movements. It's an Alexandria-based premier music touring company offering not only services to world-class orchestras and choruses, world-renowned conductors, composers, and soloists, as well as numerous celebrated institutions, but who blends cultures and music and create new and different musical experiences. So Steve's shows are always great, and Monday night will be no exception. Tuesday, August 18th, I'm thrilled to welcome back Jennifer DeFilippo of ArtSpire VA. That nonprofit that she began has already celebrating its 5-year anniversary. Jennifer has been on the show before, and I'm thrilled to have her back again on Tuesday night to talk about ArtSpire, reminisce a little bit about the first 5 years, and see what the next who knows how many years will be. On Wednesday, Jane Collins has 10 questions for Monica Huerta, who works for the City of Alexandria and the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Support Department. So she'll be here to give her input on that. She'll be answering Jane's questions, both personal and professional. And then on Thursday, Virginia is back with the Virginia Amos Show. She'll be welcoming Amy Sills Eggers of the Delray Business Association and founder of the Delray Vintage Flea Market. So we have a really packed week for you next week. I hope that you can tune in every night at 7 p.m. right here on ZTV Live. And until then, please remember to be the good news in someone's life.